Hello, ladies and gents, and welcome to another episode of Cycling Insider. In this episode, let's talk about 2022 Trek Domane SL6 eTap road bike. But before we start, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe and hit that little like button because it's gonna help in growing the channel. And of course, if you are already a subscriber, then definitely thank you. So, as I was saying, Trek Domane SL6 eTap for the 2022 season. Let's first answer the question, who is this bike for? So you see, Trek Domane platform is a typical example of endurance road bike. So a bit more relaxed geometry. Definitely the purpose is for the long days in the saddle, and also you can't expect this bike to be light. We will see later what's the total weight of the bike, but as I say, if you are into a bit more relaxed geometry, long days in the saddle, then definitely you should check this Trek Domane SL6 eTap bike. The good thing here is that, as always, Trek at least offers you two paint schemes for this bike. The first one is this classical metallic red with a hint of silver and black, pretty classical combination, looks absolutely stunning and beautiful. And then there is this truly beautiful, in my opinion, so-called satin dark, aquatic, kind of, I would call it, metallic green with a hint of silver, absolutely stunning paint scheme, and personally I would choose this paint scheme. But as always, I'm really glad that Trek is offering two paint schemes to choose from as a standard option on this bike, because the retail price of this bike is $4,730 US. So definitely this is not a cheap bike, but we will see the technical specifications and we will definitely discuss what do you get for your hard-earned money. As always, when it comes to the technical specifications of the bike, we can start with the frame and the fork on this bike. So the frame is a 500 series OCLV carbon fiber frame from Trek. And it has some very interesting details on the frame. The most important thing is that the frame has a front and rear iso-speed decoupler. So basically this is a patented solution from Trek, where the rear iso-speed basically allows you for the seat tube to move independently of the seat stays and the top tube. Of course, this is very good for comfortable bike riding, and also the front iso speed has a bit of the movement inside, the top tube area, so you can also absorb a lot of bumps coming from the front wheel. This front and rear iso speed is an absolutely amazing solution from Trek, works perfectly in the real world, and it really contributes to the smooth ride of this bike. Again, speaking about this carbon fiber frame, 500 series carbon fiber frame, it's not top of the line creme de la creme that Trek can do. They can go all the way to their 800 series OCLV, but when it comes to these Domane bikes, 500 series OCLV is kind of the standard. Also, a nice little touch on this carbon fiber frame is the internal storage, so you have a bit of storage area in the down tube. So for example, you can put some little tools inside, or maybe a spare tire, so there are a lot of options, or even some food inside. So this is a very nice touch from the Trek. This carbon fiber frame, of course, has an option for internal cable routing, also for the fender mounts, great touch from Trek, flat mount disc brakes, and 12mm through axles front and the back. Fork is again the Trek's Domane SL carbon fiber fork with a tapered carbon steerer. Also it has fender mounts, flat mount disc brakes, and as I said, 12mm through axles. So all in all, with the frame and the fork, keep in mind that Trek offers a lifetime warranty on their carbon fiber frames and forks, which is absolutely superb. So I'm not expecting any problems here, and definitely I have no special complaints about this carbon fiber frame and the fork. Now let's talk about the wheelset on this bike. So you see, you are getting a Bontrager Paradigm Comp 25 wheelset. So this wheelset is a classical example of an aluminium wheelset from Bontrager. If you would buy this wheelset on the open market, the retail price is for the rear wheel approximately $300 US. If we look at some specifications of this wheelset, as I said, aluminum wheelset with 25mm inner rim width, which is absolutely superb. You can really mount some wide tires onto these wheels. Hubs are from Bontrager. This is their Bontrager Rapid Drive 54 hubs. I'm expecting it to work perfectly fine. In the old days, Bontrager was using some of the knowledge from DT Swiss. I hope they still do, so these hubs should work perfectly fine. This wheelset is of course tubeless ready, 24 spokes front and the back, and I forgot to mention that the rim height is 23mm. And of course, it's for the center lock disc brakes and 12mm through axles. Another thing that you want to know here is the total weight of this wheelset. So as we can see, the rear wheel is going to be 960 grams and the front wheel 825 grams. So in total we can round it up to about 1,800 grams. So definitely, you see, not the lightest wheelset on the market, but as a classical aluminum endurance wheelset, I think it's perfectly fine as it is, this Bontrager Paradigm 25 wheelset. This wheelset is wrapped in the Bontrager Art 3 hardcase tire, and this is a tubeless ready with 32mm wide tires both front and the back. I'm definitely so glad that Trek went with 32mm tires, so much more air volume, so much more, comfort during your bike ride. Also keep in mind that if this 32mm tire is not enough for you, you can always fit all the way up to 38mm tires on this bike, which is absolutely superb. I forgot to mention here that Trek will supply the tubeless sealant and the tubeless tape, so you can easily convert this wheelset into immediately a tubeless wheelset, which is absolutely great from Trek. Great work here. For this tire, I forgot to mention that you have a 120 TPI tread, so it's going to be a nice and supple tire in this 32mm iteration. Now let's talk about the drivetrain of this bike. It's definitely one of the highlights of the bike because this is a wireless group set from SRAM. So this is SRAM Rival eTap Access 12-speed wireless group set. So shifters front mech and the rear mech, everything is SRAM Rival eTap. And also I have to mention here, since all of them communicate wirelessly, there's no cables, so the bike really looks very clean. And this group set will work perfectly fine. I have no special complaints here. Everybody who has tried the SRAM Rival eTap says it works perfectly flawlessly, and since SRAM was one of the original initiators of the wireless group set, they definitely know what they are doing here. Also, SRAM Rival eTap was introduced as kind of the entry level of wireless group set, so it's easy to kind of buy it, obtain it, service it. So as I said, shifters front mech, rear mech, everything superb. SRAM Rival eTap wireless, no special complaints here. Now let's talk about the crankset on this bike. So the crankset is the SRAM Rival crankset. This crankset is 4633 chain rings, and of course if this 4633 is kind of not enough for you, you can always in the future upgrade to 4835 chain rings with this SRAM crankset. So this is absolutely up to you, but as it is now, I think it's a good combination of this 4633 crankset, because the cassette at the back is the SRAM XG1250 cassette, 1036 cassette, 12-speed cassette. So you definitely have a huge range, 1036 cassette at the back and 4633 chain rings at the front. Definitely no problem in climbing any steep mountains. Just a little mention about this cassette. As I always say, this SRAM Rival XG1250 cassette is an absolutely beautiful piece of work from SRAM, and you can get it in the options of 1036 or 1030. 1036 is perfectly fine for me, but just keep in mind, in the future, when you need to replace this cassette, it's a bit pricey item because it's going to set you back $125 US. So just keep that in mind. I would definitely suggest you to keep with the SRAM parts just because of the compatibility in the future. Another interesting thing on this bike when it comes to the bottom bracket is of course the SRAM dub standard bottom bracket because of the crankset, but what Trek has done, they have used a T47 threaded bottom bracket, which is absolutely superb solution. So they have kind of, with this T47 threaded bottom bracket, they have eliminated all the possible creaking noises from the SRAM dub standard, And definitely with the T47 standard, your local mechanic is absolutely gonna be, delighted, because it's gonna be easy to service. Chain on the bike, they didn't cut corners here. Trek has included the SRAM Rival 12-speed chain, and I also suggest you in the future, when you destroy this chain, keep again with the SRAM Rival or even some higher level chains from SRAM, just because of the compatibility with the Cassette and the Crankset. Now let's talk about some of the smaller components on the bike. For example, saddle. Saddle is the Bontrager's own P3 verse saddle. Not expecting anything special here, it should work perfectly fine. But then again, if you don't like this saddle, it's pretty easy to replace it, because as you know, saddles are a personal preference. Now let's talk about the seat post, because this is another interesting little detail on this bike. So this is a carbon fiber seat post, but this is a Bontrager so-called, internal seat mast cap seat post. Long story short, it's good that this seat post inserts, classically into the carbon fiber frame, although they call it, this internal seat mast cap. I don't see any special problems in the future if you would need to replace this carbon fiber seat post. Okay, the retail price, if you want to buy it on the open market from Bontrager, is $280, but I'm not expecting any problems with this carbon fiber seat post, so it should last you, the lifetime of the bike. And the good thing always is, carbon fiber seat post will definitely absorb so much of the road bumps. Now let's have a look at the handlebar and the stem. So the handlebar is a Bontrager Elite aluminum handlebar, and also when it comes to the stem, this is the Bontrager Pro stem, again aluminum piece. I'm so glad here that Trek has included separate pieces for handlebar and the stem, because in the future it's easy to replace if you want to upgrade, or if you want to finally tune your position on the bike, then definitely you can finally adjust it, because the handlebar and the stem are separate pieces. This is what I like to see. I'm not a big fan of this one-piece integrated cockpit handlebar stem, so these separate pieces absolutely work fine and they are superb. I forgot to mention when it comes to the braking system on the bike. The braking system is, of course, SRAM hydraulic disc brakes, SRAM Rival hydraulic disc brakes with the SRAM Paceline braking rotor. So these braking rotors, 160mm front and the back, absolutely superb. And I'm not expecting any big problems with these, braking system and braking rotors. Heat dissipation should be very good, braking performance should be very good. The only thing is, as I always say, if you are moving from Shimano hydraulic disc brakes to SRAM hydraulic disc brakes, you will definitely feel a bit of the difference in the braking lever, also maybe a bit in the braking feel. They just work a bit differently, but don't worry about that. The cool thing is that the braking performance, heat dissipation, should be perfectly fine with this SRAM Paceline rotors, 160mm, as I said, both front and the back. And now, the total weight of the bike in size 56 is 9.14 kilograms. So as you see, as I mentioned, this is not a light bike, because, for example, I would need size 58, so I would easily expect this bike to be approximately 9.3 kilograms, for example. But since this is an endurance road bike and it has this Trek ISO speed decoupler both front and the back, you absolutely can't expect the light machine. So in a summary, considering the retail price of $4,730, I have to say that I don't have any special complaints, because yes, the price is a bit spicy, but keep in mind that you are getting a wireless group set from SRAM Rival eTap access. You are also getting, Trek's patented solution with ISO speed decoupler both front and the back. And of course, I have to mention here that, the wheelset, they had to go with the aluminum wheelset to kind of keep the price down as much as possible. But this wheelset with the Bontrager hubs should work perfectly fine. And then in the future, it's always easy to upgrade. So all in all, very good job from Trek with this Trek Domane SL6 eTap, and I truly believe that the waiting lines are going to be big for this bike, and they will definitely sell like a bunch of hot cakes. So I think this is going to be it for today. I hope you like what I'm doing, and if you do, please do subscribe and hit that little like button, because it's going to help in growing the channel. And as always, I will see you soon in the next episode. Pura Vida.